You've been asking for it. You want the good stuff. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and I know what you're thinking. Stuart, your reviews, you seem so positive about drones, you seem so enthusiastic, you love so many of these things, and yes, good sirs and lasses, all these drones on the wall behind me, I have had a lot of fun with, except for maybe one or two, like maybe this one on the far over there, but that's besides the point. This is what happens when I say yes, I will review something that typically I would say that just looks like a piece of rubbish. So what this is the Hawker 280, and let me tell you kids, block your ears right now, language warning, because when Uncle Trevor sees this thing, I just already know he's going to let loose on what he thinks about this pile of rubbish. Now, so many of the drones you see on my channel, I show them to you guys because I think that's what people should be flying. That's what I like. That's what I'd want to do a video on. That's what I'd want to fly. That's what I want to share with you guys. And these types of crafts, I get so many emails. Stuart, can you please review this? It's the latest blah, blah, blah piece of rubbish. So this time I thought, well, it might be fun just to say yes to one. We're going to put it through its normal review process. We'll put it on the bench, then we'll take it out. It's probably just going to be one video. So we'll quickly do the text and the specs. We'll take it out. We'll look at this piece of rubbish, and then we'll hand over to Grumpy Trev, Crash Test Cal. And I'm really hoping that we get more than one flight with this thing. Now, you might be scratching your head when I say things like CC3D, Libra Pilot, no BOHeli-S, no BOHeli-32. The stuff in here, it really is like an old dinosaur relic. So if you're just new to the hobby, strap yourself in, because this is what bind and flies used to be like. And you'll understand why I like so many of these ones after we look at just how rubbish one of these sorts is. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's stick it on the bench, get ready for some profanity, and find out what the UAVfutures crew thinks of the Hawk 280. Alright, let's do it. Alright, so here it is. Here's the Hawk 280 on the bench. You can see it is absolutely massive, and as an overview, look, we're going to give it a quick overview, quickly go through some of its components, some things I like, some things I don't like, but straight off the bat, what do you think about the look of it? Like, does it not look like a toy? This is what people try to sell us all the time in the hobby. They try to suck people in thinking it looks cool, when really it is just a pile of absolute garbage. Now we're going to try to be as fair as we can to this. I'm going to try to really give it the proper UAVfutures review. So let's stick it on the scales, find out how much it weighs. It takes a 3 or a 4S battery, although I really do wonder, is it going to break? We're putting it on here. The whole thing is coming in at 367 grams without a battery. Now a bit of a comparison. Let's see if I can find another 5-inch around. Here we go. Let's check this out. This is the Rabbit. That's 270 grams. So you can see a massive, massive difference. And also, I'm going to say these motors, they're going to be a lot less powered as well. Now what we should do, let's start at the outside in and talk about the props first. So these props, they're 60/45s. I'm going to need a pair of pliers to get these off, bear with me. They do have 4 different sort of mounting parts on the outside, so I mean clockwise and counterclockwise threads, which, look, I'm not really the biggest fan of. I much prefer just a normal lock nut. Okie dokie, so this is what our props used to be like. This is a 60/45, and these things snapped so easy back in the day. You have no idea. If you clip something with these, even a little ghost branch, your day was over. So I'm so glad we've moved on from these. And they made so much noise, and they're so floppy. They really weren't a good choice whatsoever. And they just got worse. The bigger they got, the worse that they got. Now, on the motors, on the outside, I'm going to flash a picture on the screen because it didn't actually say in the instructions. Oh, and I should also say you do get some instructions, and it said some things about the firmware, which we'll talk about. It didn't even exist. When I went to that web page, it's still shut down. So you can see we've got our motors on the outside. They're brushless. They're moving towards the middle. We actually have our ESCs individually soldered on in the inside. Now, if I take this part apart, it's going to be a big pain, so I think it's this screw here. Also too, can you imagine trying to work on this thing in the field? There are so many screws and nuts and bolts, it's absolutely ridiculous. Your battery's designed to go in this sort of part too, so you need to make sure your battery's going to fit in there. Hang your XT60 out the back. Alright, so you take those screws off, then you pop the hood, pop the bonnet, and then this is what we've got to work with. So it's going to be, if you need to get inside here, it is going to be a huge pain trying to work with all this stuff. So I've taken those two little screws out, and you can see that's where you pop it. It doesn't really do anything. I don't know why that's there, because it doesn't really achieve anything. This is where you're going to sit your battery. You've got your camera at the front, which is going to be absolutely rubbish. A really old school CMOS camera at the front as well. And then I don't want to do this because it's going to take forever. You've got to take out all these screws, which, look, let's just get to it. So let's cut back when this is done in 3, 2, 1. Alright, there we go. We've taken off all the screws. We're going to slide this part off the top. Hopefully remember how to put this back to you there. You can see that's how you hold your camera in. And then get ready for the good stuff. Check this out. We've got one big PDB, and you can, oh, and that also sandwiches your arms down. This receiver, that was put in there, so thank you very much for Trevor. It doesn't come like that because we did put this thing together. We wanted to make sure we could get it to work. But let's have a look. We've got our ESCs built in, so you can see there at the front, and no good sirs and lasses, they are not BO 32. There's no BO S. These things, they're rocking one shot. So there's some crazy old school ESCs. I think I'm going to flash the amp rating on the screen because I can't remember as well. It's a discontinued item. It's very hard to try and track down some of the specs. And then we've got our VTX, which is kind of hot soldered onto the top right here. And our flight controller, which is built in, is a CC3D. So that's an F1 board. And there's CC, like, you know, the Nasers, they were good. CC3Ds, they were awful. So I can't believe they're still kind of selling these things in some places. If you want to change your frequencies, at least you do have some dip switches. You've got 32 channels you can cycle from. And then the actual frame itself, you can see, is absolute garbage. When you crash this thing, it is just going to crumple. Because we've got these PDBs in the middle, you know, you're going to have so many stress fractures through here. There's so many components. It's only going to take one little nick, one little knock, and then something might crack. You're never going to be able to fly it again. So, this thing is frustrating. You do have some LEDs on the back as well that are hardwired right next to your XT60. Now, I guess let's talk about the quality of the thing, and the shell seems really flimsy. It's not going to hold up very well in crashes whatsoever. The carbon, the way it's mounted right here, is very, very poor. So if you, I'll see if I can get this in shot, but there is only a tiny little bit of carbon going between these two plates. It is going to snap an arm extremely easy. I'm going to be very surprised if we get more than a few flights out of this thing. You know, there's a lot of extra weight in here, big bulky connectors, and yeah, the quality, it's terrible, let me just say. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the design of the thing, and the design of this thing is because look, this big plastic bit, it is almost useless. It's going to be annoying to put your battery in here. There's no real forethought. The arms, they don't go in very well. They're going to snap quite easily. There's so much, there's not very much purchase at all that your arm is in there. It's only held on by a wafer thin bit of this PDB board on top. Having these in general is a terrible idea. One little fracture, your whole board could be out. It's going to take weeks to diagnose the problems. It's using really, really old stuff, and they're still charging a premium for it. The motors, they're going to be pretty useless anyway. I'm not expecting too much thrust. The props are gross, and overall I think the design, it's not something that I'm a fan of. It's not something that I'd want people to be flying, and that also goes for the quality. The quality of this thing it's absolutely shit. So I really hate to see when people say, hey, how about this drone? Or maybe a kid gets this because it looks good, but they're just not going to have a good time. And if you get a product like this, they're not going to enjoy flying it. That's why I review so many products that I like. They're things that I actually want to fly. Things like this is just, I don't even know what to say. I am not a fan of this. I love FPV. I love quadcopters. This pile of it's just definitely not floating my boat. Now let's move on to the pros and the cons before we take it out to the field. Pros, if you like red, this might be a very nice red option you can choose. Pro, they've stopped making it, so people can't get sucked into buying it anymore. Pro, if you really knew how, you could probably put Betaflight on here. Now let's talk about some of the cons. The firmware, we'll keep it on the flight controller. The firmware, the page it tells you to go to in the manual doesn't even exist anymore. That's how old this sort of stuff is. There's no BO 32, no BO S, just one-shot ESCs. It's got this terrible board design in the middle. On top of that, it's going to be very easy to snap an arm and snap a board because of this board design. So it's a poor design putting this in here, and it's poorly designed the way the arms connect to that board. It's got some crazy things. I don't know why they went 6-inch with some really dodgy props. You've got a terrible camera on the front. Mounting your battery is going to be annoying. I don't know where you're going to probably cut your leads up, and there's nowhere to put your GoPro. So, oh, and also trying to hook this thing up to your receiver. You just wait till you hear what old Grumpy Trev says when he talks about the process of how we set this thing up. So overall, I think you can tell I'm not a fan of this Hawk 280 at all. Complete and utter rubbish. But that's it on the bench. Let's take it out to the field, let's fly it around, and let's find out how it actually goes. Maybe, Stuart, you're being overcritical, and I'm sure some people are going to be upset in the comments. You're just saying that. I've flown CC3D for years. It's fantastic. I like those props, those motors. Or let me say, if it's working for you, That's great. Let's let the footage speak for itself, and in terms of the way it's designed, it's done a very, very poor job. So that's it on the bench. Let's go have some fun with it and find out what happens. In 3, 2, 1. Alright, ladies and gents, time for a treat. We're checking out this total racing beast. The Hawker, is it the Hawker 270?
What are you going back in time, Stu?
What do you mean?
This looks like something out of the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, I should say, Trevor, you helped me set this up because what happened, I tried to get the software. The software didn't even exist anymore. You happen to have an old version on your computer. And how did it go?
Oh, this thing's just got style written all over it. I can hardly wait to... It actually does fly. I have hovered it in the workshop.
Did you feel confident?
No, look, I said to the guys that when we power this up, put it down and don't stand anywhere near it because this thing's liable to be pretty dangerous, and it's the ugliest quad I have seen for a long time.
And I think it was expensive too. Carl, what did you just say when I picked this up and said it's time to do this?
I said, looking at it makes me angry.
Why is that?
Because it looks antiquated, old, fragile. Look at these motors. They're a copy of the old Emax motors from about 3 years ago.
And look what else they've done too, Cal. They've got the camera at the front, but with the headlights at the back.
That's weird. I like those LEDs. I haven't seen them before, but
They've done a good thing about it so far. Oh, it's got an XT60 plug. That's got to be handy.
The carbon's all very thin sheet. The arms are thin. I don't think it's really going to last, and obviously you're going to be replacing this carbon after the first day out for sure.
Carbon or plastic?
The plastic canard.
Are you ready to have a bit of fun?
Just that bit. I reckon you're going to be replacing the lot after the first day out.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I reckon...
What's the flight controller?
CC3D.
Yeah, CC3D,
really?
yeah.
What rubbish.
It's
running Libra.
It's something out of the Ark. Yeah, Libra.
Okay, no fire. Do a line of sight flight first.
Whoa! Hey! Whoa! Oh, you have control.
Actually don't have control of that.
You don't?
I don't. I'm not doing that. That's going... I'm trying to kill it. I'm trying.
Yes! Beautiful.
I was not doing that.
Makes me hum it in the...
You did that inside.
Inside.
Oh, that's a dangerous.
It's broken.
It's broken. It only barely touched the ground.
Well, that XT60 pad's completely lifted off.
Well, there you go. Look, I can highly recommend to these guys. These,
soldering iron.
So, there you go, guys. The Hawker, it didn't even do one hover. It was like half in control, half not in control. So I don't know what was going on there. It was doing a lot of yawing. And it broke after touching the ground one time.
yeah, and I reckon if you buy one of those, you're...
So, Trevor...
So we'll leave a link below anyway.
Well, yeah, we'll put the link... we'll put the link down below for those people who are so inclined to feel that way. But this is why we don't do this sort of rubbish on the channel. A lot of people, they always say, oh, you like this quad, you like those? Yeah, because they actually fly. They're still enjoyable flying crafts. The reason we don't do this is because we don't want people to use this rubbish. So, you know, we get a lot of requests for these sorts of things. So that's why you don't see that. That's pretty much what happens. It's a piece of junk, it's gonna break, and it's not worth your money. So, unfortunately, Trevor, what'd you give it? Grumpy Trev rating out of 10?
That doesn't deserve a rating.
Yep. Cal's famous 4 words?
Bash it, then bin it.
Bash it, then bin it. And I'm gonna say junk. Utter junk. And it's just designed to steal your money. Designed to get
Come on,
a kid.
this one deserves a bleep from you, Stu. Come on.
It's terrible. Do not buy it. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the Hawker, and hands down, this one wins the award for biggest piece of junk we have ever had on the channel, even with a bit of profanity. And I get the disappointing part is people are going to buy these if they're not educated about what's a good drone and what's a bad drone. I get so many emails from a lot of vendors saying, oh, can you please review this, the most amazing, exciting 3D flying special FPV HD camera drone. And it turns out most of the time it's just junk like this. So the reason you don't see this on the channel is because I'm not really interested in this sort of stuff. I like drones that actually fly, that I think people are going to get some value out of. That's why you see a lot on my channel. And yes, there's a budget range, and people often say, oh, you're way too enthusiastic about that. You know, you should be getting the top of line, these expensive ones, all that sort of stuff. That's not what UAVfutures is about. I'm about kit for everybody that everybody can afford. If you can afford that fantastic expensive stuff that works amazing, well done. But I also want to show you the value stuff as well to get people flying And what I don't want to do videos on is junk like this, because it really doesn't deserve the time of day. So that's why you don't sort of see these negative reviews on the channel, because it's just a waste of my time, a waste of your time as well. And I think you can tell straight off the bat, junk like this just isn't worth it. It's going to break. Like that break that you saw was absolutely minuscule. This thing, by the time I got it, hopefully when I put the link down below, it's going to be discontinued, because last time I was checking, it looked like it had some limited stock. But I don't want people buying this rubbish anymore. It is a complete waste of money. It's not going to hold up well. I couldn't even really get it to fly well. But other than that, I don't even know what to say. Hopefully we don't see any more things like this on the channel. Biggest piece of junk we have ever seen. But I'd love to know what do you guys think. Put your comments down below. Give me your honest impressions about what you think about the Hawker. I can't even remember its full name. I'll put the link down below. About the Hawker. This one took so long to review because it was so difficult to try and bind up. And actually, even the software, luckily Trevor had it on his computer because the links didn't work anymore. Nightmare components, and just all around a nightmare to fly anyway. Other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying! Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAV Futures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying!